Hello YNAB Nation, my name is Jesse Meekum from You Need a Budget. Yes, you do. And this is another Whiteboard Wednesday. This will be particularly useful to freelancers, although it actually can be readily applied to anyone. We're talking about Rule 2, and in scenarios where your income is potentially all over the place, you will find a lot of solace from this principle. Rule 2, quick recap for those already in the know, is basically to save for a rainy day. What does that exactly mean? I've used a lot of my whiteboard today. It means that you take your large, less frequent expenses and you break them up into smaller monthly amounts. Let me give you the why first behind the rule. If I ask you to tell me your normal expenses, your monthly expenses, I might bait you. I might say, hey, tell me your monthly expenses, and you'll think cable, or rent, or mortgage, or gas, or groceries, right? You naturally will go toward the expenses that you pay on a monthly, regular basis. So maybe the blue is your gas bill, and the red is your mortgage, and the green is your cable, right? So fixed stuff, it's super easy, and you think, okay, here, this dashed line, these are my expenses. And as you look at your W-2 that's come in the mail, or you have this kind of aha moment where you're saying, I'm making pretty good money, this line represents that question of why aren't I getting ahead? And a lot of you, I know a lot of you have asked yourselves that question, why aren't I getting ahead? I seem to be making, as one person told me once, an adult salary, right? Why aren't I getting ahead? And I didn't leave this rag up here because I forgot, although I'm sure one of these times I will. I left the rag up here because this is my big reveal. The reason that you aren't getting ahead is because you are forgetting about your larger, less frequent expenses, like Christmas. So your, let me put this up there real quick. Your actual expenses, when you take all of the expenses of the holidays, are quite a bit higher. And you could take that tree and you could cut it up. See what I did there? And you could say, oh, well, when we take Christmas into account, when we take that larger, less frequent expense, and let's say we spend $600 a month or $600 a year on Christmas, that's $50 a month, then you would add that in to your monthly calculation. And then you would maybe look at another expense, like maybe another positive. Holidays are positive. And I should mention your holiday expenses aren't just gifts. It's increased travel, increased food because we all eat more. Increase or decrease time working for a lot of people if you're paid hourly or something like that. So there's more to the costs than just the gifts. Christmas cards, if you send those out, and we're due this year, so that's in our budget. Another one, vacation. You know you're going to take a vacation. You want to take a vacation, so you take that vacation amount and you break it up into smaller monthly amounts. So then suddenly you've got it here. You're adding up your vacation. And you're saying, okay, vacation, we're going to spend $480, so that's $40 a month. And that's all added up. What's another one? Property taxes, if they aren't paid through a mortgage. Life insurance premiums are usually paid annually. Car insurance premiums, sometimes there's a little bit of savings if you pay those semi-annually. It goes on and on. Anniversaries, anniversary presents, right? Birthdays, gifts like that. Those are big, potentially less frequent, always expenses. And they will get you. That's the reason that you aren't getting ahead. That gap right there, I've illustrated another way over here with stress on our y-axis, time on our x-axis, and then another y-axis on the other side for money. As money's high, wait, I screwed that up. As money's high, stress is low, that's right. And as the money's high, your stress is low, but when you dip down into that stressful area, that dashed line here, I'm calling like the financial edge, right? And we talk about this in our Getting Started class. You dip down into that, and that's maybe where you go into overdraft. Or that's where you put this emergency on your credit card, like holiday spending, sometimes people will do that. Or that life insurance premium that came due, you know you have to pay for it. You need that life insurance. It's a smart financial move, but there's no money in the checking account. So you have to put that on your credit card. And it's not because you want to make bad decisions, it's just that you haven't been operating with what we call your true expenses. So instead of this stressful scenario where you're dipping into overdraft or putting some expenses on the card down in the red, I'm proposing that you break up those larger, less frequent expenses into bite-sized monthly amounts, and you get things a little smoother. You never approach that financial edge. We'll talk with Rule 4, we'll talk in a couple weeks about buffering that up even more and stepping far, far, far away from the financial edge. But back to the true expenses. Now, you smart person, when you are looking at your true expenses, when you've tacked on the vacation, the annual life insurance premiums, the holiday spending, when you've tacked all that on, you then realize that your spending was not here at this dashed line, it was actually quite a bit higher. And this gap right here, that gap is what has kept you from getting ahead. That gap is what has forced your hand to go to the credit card, what's put you into overdraft mode. And it's been stressing you out, and it doesn't have to be that way. What we want you to do, we've talked about Rule 1, where you prioritize. Now we're adding more information into your prioritization exercise. We're saying, hey, instead of just prioritizing the here and now, we want you to also be looking ahead and kind of doing your future self a favor and saying, listen, those expenses also are applicable now because we want to make sure we're ready for them at that time. And that's really the ticket. That's the key, knowing your true expenses. And then because you are smart and because you make good financial decisions and because you know you need to buy that life insurance, right? Then it's not that you're putting it on the card, you're ready for it. You have the money when the bill arrives and you just pay it. It feels really, really good. And you find out when you have those true expenses, that number there, calculating all of your costs for the year, all of them, not just those monthly amounts. When you have that available, you make really good decisions. You are your best financial advisor because you have your true expenses in place. So that question of can we afford this, that, or the other, afford is the question. Instead of looking at that lower monthly amount that's fake and doesn't give you any good information for decision making, you're looking at the true expense line and answering the same question, can we afford this? Now you can give yourself a really good answer. So, to recap, you have your large, meaning less frequent. You don't apply this to toothpaste, right? Large, less frequent expenses. I put less frequent there. Large meaning small. That was my mistake. Large meaning not small. I'm botching this up at the end. I was going for a smooth ending and it didn't happen. Large meaning not small. So don't do this with the tiny things like the toothpaste. Second point, less frequent. Not monthly. You'll remember those. But those less frequent expenses that are gotchas a lot of the time. Take those, break them up into monthly amounts, and look at what your true expenses are. Make them bite-sized. Like I said, make them monthly. Once you know those true expenses, you can answer that question, honey, can we afford this? And when you can answer that honestly and truthfully, the stress will just melt away. I'll catch you next time.